Hi art friends, I just wanted to pop in here with another tutorial and just a quick update. So I have some friends who are still working on their vessel project from last week. So they're working on their honeycomb pattern, they're working on some shading. And what I'll offer is that if you are finishing that part up, if you just wanted to go ahead in and add a background in this version of the vessel that I'm doing right now, you can certainly go ahead and do that. And then what I decided to do was add a little bit of a challenge or extension activity for anyone who's done and wanted to try creating the vessel from a little bit of a different point of view. Now, some of you had shared that you looked at this almost from a STEAM perspective or based on some of the things that we worked on in the inquiry lab throughout the year, which I thought was really cool. And I also wanted to mention that it reminded me of thinking of problem solving, because sometimes when you look at the same thing in a brand new way, it helps you to think about your own perspective and how you can problem solve. So I thought that was really cool. So one thing I want to mention is that the focus of these projects that we're working on is going to be vanishing point perspective. So basically what you're going to do is you're taking that first view that we looked at with the vessel, and we're really changing that. So you'll see the proportion of the vessel in this particular version is much smaller than what we were looking at before. So to set up our vanishing point perspective, you're going to create an X really towards the middle of your page. And then as you can see, I started to sketch in some lines here, like almost like an upside down V. Okay, so going through like this. And then across my horizon line. And then you can also go ahead and we're going to layer in the building shapes. So almost like the side of a trapezoid and some rectangular shapes as well. So you'll sketch those in. And then another thing you want to do is to sketch out the basic shape of the vessel. I'll actually have to add another little layer for some height here. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to add color to that as well. So just start sketching in the external shape and then also the shape of the trees and the shrubs over here. Okay, and we're going to add in color, so you'll see how we'll do that. And again, those of you who want to work from your first version, you can also add these elements, the trees and the background after. So one of the things I want to show you is based on what medium you have at home. So if you're someone who has watercolor, I'm going to show you a little bit of that. I'm going to take a combination of blues, just bringing them all together, just dabbing a few different blues together and gently layering in that background. Okay, so I've got that sky going on and just blending. Really lightly, because as you can see, there's a lot of light in that sky. Okay, it's very soft. And if you're someone who's working with crayons or colored pencils, you can create the same effect by using your very lightest blue and just really gently shading all the way on the side, almost no pressure. And then you can also layer in a little bit of white as well. Okay, you're using atmospheric perspective. The further away, the lighter the blue is going to get. Okay, so again, just that really beautiful soft blue. Then you'll go ahead in and we're going to go back to that really bronzy color that I've been liking for the vessel itself. And I'll just layer that color on just to show you some of my shading. Now in this rendition, it is a drawing. It's not a photo. So you'll notice that the lines are a little bit soft. Not so soft that it's impressionistic, but you can, keep those lines not so crisp and clear. They could be a little softer and blended. Now the next thing I want to show you, this was kind of cool. So a couple people were talking in the comments about the math perspective and some of the science things they were noticing here, which was pretty cool. So this is one of the things I wanted to show you for the and-side perspective. So this is if you're down and you're looking up into the sky. So again, those of us who are working from another classroom, if you just take a look at those images, a few different perspectives of the vessel come up and you'll see the one that we're working on. So for this one, I want to show you, you're going to create your vanishing point perspective. Again, a little mark in the center. These lines should be really, really light because they're your guidelines and you're going to erase them afterward. So I'll just show you kind of what we did there. We almost made like a spider web shape. Okay, going through here. I'm gonna keep moving that ruler. Okay, and again, setting those guidelines really lightly. And then what you're going to do, you can either freehand or use your ruler again, make those spider web lines going out. Okay, and your vanishing point is kind of like your bullseye. It's as small as it gets as you get close to the vanishing point, and then everything expands or gets larger as you move out. So you're going to create that spider web effect. I'm just going to do it freehand so you can see the directions that I'm going in. Okay, like this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and connect those lines. Okay, as you can see, and I'm keeping them really sketchy. They don't have to be graphic or bold. Okay, the later you go, in fact, the easier it's going to be to erase anything you need to after. And then just continuing the pattern. Okay, and this is the way that the artist takes a 2D flat surface and gives the illusion of depth, so that you're looking at something almost through a camera lens or that type of thing. So it's changing the way that you're actually looking at things. Now, when you're setting up the buildings, again, we're kind of focusing on those straight edges or angles, and we're angling it towards the center. We want it wider at the base and bringing it in as you get closer to the vanishing point. Okay, and you'll do that with each of the sides of the building to give that illusion of depth again and perspective. And then what you can do is for the clouds, these are in the atmosphere. They're above the building, so you can really do a very free-form shape there. And actually, as far as the coloring in, or the watercolor or crayon technique that we were talking about, you can basically do the same thing. You're keeping everything in this one as well pretty light, okay? Blending it. And again, perspective is how you see things. So that's actually, I have to be honest with this extension activity, this was such a theme. I see when you guys are in the Inquiry Lab, how you look at things in such a different way. And that was the first thing that struck me when I looked at these renditions or these examples of the vessel. That's what I thought of, like so many different cool ways of seeing this. So I wanted to share that with you. Now, the last one, I personally found this to be the most challenging. I'm not sure if you guys will feel the same, but I thought this was tricky, but a fun challenge if you're up for it. So for this one, I went ahead, and again, we're doing that vanishing point or the little X right in the middle. And then for this one, this was my tip. To be honest, the first time I tried to draw the shape freehand and it didn't work out. So I'm gonna be honest about that. And what I did was I took the ruler, went straight down the middle, and then went ahead and did my X. You can also do this freehand. This one's pretty easy to do freehand, so you can give that a try. No problem. Okay. This one's a bird's eye view. It's looking down into the vessel. So it's almost like if you were bird's eye view in a helicopter looking down, that type of thing. And then what you can do from here is once you've set that up, you're going to go across like this, scoop a little bit like that. It's almost like a starfish shape. Okay, if you can think of it that way, which I thought was pretty cool too. We were looking at so many different patterns in this. The first one we were looking at a honeycomb. This one is more of a starfish. And then these shapes, this is what's called concentric. Concentric means there's one base shape in the middle, and then you're continuing it along the outside. Okay, so that's a pretty cool word. And a lot of you had talked about the combination of math in this. So, you know, geometry and shapes and things like that. So you basically are connecting the lines, but you're creating a little bit of a dip on the inside, and then you're going around the edge like that. Now for this one, you'll see there is obviously no blue sky or anything like that. This one we're staying more with those brownish tan tones. So for this one, you're just going to go ahead and shade, and you can see there's a play with dark and light, which also helps create that depth. So you'll see there's that nice, it's like a warm tan color that's in there, and that's in the edges over here. And then you'll see that there's a much darker brown shade that will be along the edge. And you can almost layer that with like a charcoal underneath it and then go over it in brown. So that's like on the edges here. Okay. So you can play with your shading along there to start to match. But again, you're really sticking with those neutral tones, those browns, those charcoals, some gray and some darker brown as well. Okay. For this one, I would stick with a monochromatic palette. So you're really just using one color, basically that brown, and then you're tinting it with white, you're shading it with that black or charcoal like I did, and your tones of gray. So this one is going to be a lot more monochromatic and same color palette. So I hope that this helps you. Again, you don't have to do them all, but I figured to give you a couple more options as far as finishing your project. I hope you enjoyed the vessel as much as I do, and I hope to talk to you soon. Take care.